Okay, great. So, team, let's start with the session and the intention with which we've all come together. So, we're going to talk today about winning and growing business, marketing for coaches. I think we've all seen a lot of ups and downs. We've seen a lot of people who enter into the coaching world, and then life is always unpredictable, right? And with the whole pandemic, I think we've all evolved with regards to how we dealt with these challenges and how we kept ourselves surviving. So I think one big round of applause to all of us who are here and have sailed through all the challenges that came across for us. And Hari, congratulations. And I think yes, let's look forward and create some bright memories and bright futures for us and our clients. So with that, I would like to welcome our guest for today, Suhasini. Suhasini, first of all, thank you for taking time. Suhasini is the founder of Market Access Consulting. She's been an awardee, the 100 most influential marketing technology leaders by World Marketing Congress in December 25th, 2005. She works in the areas of marketing strategy, services, and training for global clients. She's worked with as the chief of marketing at GS Lab, and she's also on the board of Midcon Institute of Management and MBA from NMIMS Mumbai University. Her hobby includes painting abstracts. So with that brief introduction, I would like to welcome Suhasini and hand over the baton to her to take over the session and help us in regards to how do we market ourselves better. Suhasini,
Hey,
over to
thanks
you.
so much. Thanks so much, Kalpesh. Yeah, I enjoyed the activity very much,
Thank you.
and gave me a good taste of what is your thought process. So that was very good opening.
Thank you.
Thanks for the introduction, and yeah, welcome everyone to this session. So the session is going to be quite, I would say, brainstorming together, but I'll just kind of start and set the tone. So usually, when we are called to talk about sales and marketing, we start with talking about like very specific things. What is your market segment? Maybe what is your market share? What's your competition? Because in many mature markets, there's well-defined demand. There's a lot of well-defined requirements. There's a lot of requirements, a lot of potential business, potential customers. There is a lot of contracts being given, and also competition. So that's generally the traditional or the conventional approach to marketing. And if I had kind of gone with that approach, then this presentation would have launched into, what is your personal brand, and like how do you differentiate yourself? And I will be discussing those things. But when I actually spoke to people, my friends who are coaches, when I actually read about it, I feel that the market for executive coaching in India is at a slightly different stage. And it's important for us to recognize that the market is, it has its own quirks. Okay. So I would like to start by talking about what the market is. And I please correct me if I'm wrong, because it's, as I said, based on some conversations and so on. But then we have to understand that this market is a little different. Maybe we have come from a background, I don't know, in maybe in corporate work, in strategy, in consulting, in HR, whatever. So it's possible that those markets are a little different. And I will kind of discuss why I think this market is different. So we'll just start by looking a little bit at the market. I'm going to now share my screen. Can you all see my screen?
Yes, we can.
Okay. So just to start with some macro numbers, and this is data from these two sources which are given below. One is from the fact sheet, which is published by ICF this year. Okay, of course, the economy column is general open source data. So the USA economy, which is $21 trillion, and the number of ICF certified coaches published in this ICF fact sheet is about 16,500. Okay, the market in the US had been growing at about 1% every year and has shrunk by about 9% in 2020. And everybody knows 2020 has been strange for a variety of reasons. In India, we are roughly at about 1/10 the economy. We have about 766 certified coaches by ICF. So if you just take a very simple extrapolation, India could have about 2200 coaches if this was just similar to the US. So as of now, the market, the number of coaches is really not in proportion to what it is in the US, but that's okay. And there is really no research for the size of the market, whereas in the US there is a $12 billion market size. I suspect in India it's not a fraction of that. It's probably a very small fraction of that. That's really my suspicion. Okay, but so we are looking at what we are looking at currently is that the market size is we are seeing a very small potential. I mean, sorry, a very large potential, but a very small existing market. We are seeing that there could be a lot more coaches, and there are actually less than what there could be. And that's why, for these reasons, I call it a nascent market. It's a market which still has a lot of potential for growth in both the sides, supply and demand. Of course, demand has to grow because that's where supply will benefit. All of you being coaches, sorry to put it crudely, but we are the supply. And demand, of course, is what comes from customers. Okay, so what we are looking at, these 2-3 factors, they tell us that the market is just taking off. Okay, so what happens when the market is just taking off? So now this is again something which I feel, and again you could correct me if I have not got it right, but there are roughly about these 4 segments. So there is the multinationals, which probably are the early adopters or were the early adopters 8-10 years ago. Partly because globally, their executives were working with executive coaches. Then there are the Indian large companies, that is your groups which have diversified interests, and the larger groups which are themselves now many of them multinational, but I'm talking about Indian owned. Then we have the mid-sized family owned businesses, and then we have the startups roughly. Now in marketing, we talk about 2 types of need. There is existing need and latent need. So what is existing need and latent need? So maybe if about, whatever, 75, 80 years ago, if you had asked my grandmother, maybe, I don't know, my grandmother or my great grandmother, if they were cooking on say a coal stove, right? Koile ke chulhe pe. Or if they were sitting on the floor and cooking, or if, on a chulha with just a vessel and a lid, maybe cooking something like dal and rice was taking them, I don't know, whatever, 2 hours. But if you had shown them this is a pressure cooker or this is cooking gas, do you need it? Then they might have said, I don't need a pressure cooker because I know how to do this. I've been doing it all my life. But they did have a need for maybe faster cooking, for having some free time, for having maybe safety in the kitchen, for health. So what I'm trying to say is that they did have a need, but it's not an expressed need because they don't know this thing, right? Are you all with me?
Yes, Suhasini.
Yes,
We're all
So
muted.
there is, yeah, you're muted, but yeah, if I'm going, like not making sense, to stop me. So there is, so maybe we are aware that a lot of people need executive coaching, but maybe they don't define that they need executive coaching. You see what I'm saying? So it's possible that because I said the multinationals are early adopters, it's possible that there may be a more expressed or an existing need in the multinationals. We do not have data. I don't have any data to be able to say that the need of, existing need versus latent need in MNCs is this ratio and in the others it's that ratio, because without a survey, we couldn't say something like that. But it's possible possible that in the multinationals, because of the global awareness about coaching, there is a higher percentage of existing need. Whereas in the other segments, it's possible that the need is mostly latent. Does that make sense? That that they require it, but it's not being expressed that much. There's not that many requirements being floated. Is that kind of making sense?
Yes, true.
Yes, absolutely.
Absolutely, Suhasini.
Okay,
Like
cool.
we have to create it. We have to create the
Absolutely.
create our
Absolutely.
own work.
That's exactly what my session today is about. Yes, we have to create the need. However, we all need to feel good about this, because if the market is going to take off, then the early players are actually going to benefit. Okay, so we need to grow the market. We need to take off with the market. We need to consolidate, or not consolidate, but build our position and strength in this market. Okay, so that's really where we are going. So at the moment, it may feel as if it's a crowded pond with a lot of fish in the pond, because the existing need is low, and we may feel like we are competing in a small pond, but we can turn this challenge into an advantage for the future. And it's really good that this session is happening like with an ICF chapter, because that means that we can collaborate, to make this happen. Okay, so let's look at that. So if that's the where we see this going, then we need to create the future. I think all of you said that. Some of you said that we need to create it. We need to create the future. And what is written at the below in the slide is that the early players will be at an advantage when demand takes off. So in that case, my presentation today is going to be about three things. What are we going to do to grow the market? And then, okay, the market is going to grow. So what are you going to do to build your distinct identity? And then the brief that was given to me by Vivek, that people would also like to discuss sales. So we'll discuss something about sales. How do you really close deals? Okay, so that's where we are going with today's presentation. So work to grow the market. So your ideas, please unmute yourself and do give me some ideas as to what do you think, because I have few slides on that, but I'd like to hear what you think are ways to grow the market.
Creating visibility for ourselves.
Okay, visibility, yeah. Okay.
So when you do good work, I think when you do good work, the word starts to spread that, this is what is possible because of.
Yes, but we need to amplify it. Right?
I think to
Because,
also create an awareness, right? There are many people who are not very clear still. As you mentioned, India is still a nascent market. So I think there's a lot of need for creating awareness, and the benefits of coaching need to be imagined. So they may think that coaching is important, but they don't know what really it means. So maybe to just kind of build that,
absolutely,
evangelize coaching.
Okay, evangelize coaching, yeah.
I think also sharing success stories, in the sense this is how coaching can help. One is awareness about coaching. The second is how it has succeeded and benefited different types of segments. So, to actually demystify the fact that coaching is only for C-suite people or only for, senior people. I think that sharing success stories, demystifying coaching, I think would help.
One second. Is one of you calling me, because I'm getting a Mumbai call? Kalpesh, are you calling me for any reason?
No, Suhasini.
No, sorry, I'll just.
Yeah. So if I may add,
Hemant, just a second. Hemant, 1 second. I think she's got some call. She's taking.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
मी वेबिनार मध्ये आहे. प्लीज मला उद्या सकाळी करा. I'm conducting a webinar. Sorry, John. So sorry, junk call.
No problem.
No problem.
Okay. So,
yes. Sorry, Hemant was saying something.
Yeah, go ahead, Hemant.
Yeah. So if I may add, when you talk about growing the market, what comes to my mind is, first of all, identifying the need. Because as we talk about coaching, but see, coaching is a tool, coaching is a methodology. So I would say that, hey, why would anybody even require coaching? What is the need for coaching in the first place? And I think starting from that place is essential.
Very true. Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
And we are going to be discussing all these things which you all said, but some very good ideas there. And I'll just move on. I think Anu touched upon this first one, which I'm saying segments. So for example, if we are all looking at MNCs, if you're all looking at large Indian corporates, if you're all looking at C-suite, if you're all looking at people who have expressed need or existing need and big budgets, we really could relook at that. You know, for example, I'll give you one example that came to mind. I mean, doctors and maybe even hospital admin people in the last 8-9 months, 1 year, have, you know, faced a variety of challenges. So we could have some stories out there as to how, as coaches or as some of us worked with, say, leading doctors, hospital admin people, healthcare professionals, to help them to deal with this. Now, these are stories that go out. And actually, the screenshot here, which you see here, the image you see here, is a screenshot from a US company's website. And this company, they do talk about ICF coaching methodology. They are certified too, but they focus only on doctors. Okay. So they have decided that this is their niche. So I've just mentioned a few here: healthcare, education, sports, media, you know, and it's possible that some of you have existing networks. Maybe some of you have a network in a sports society or in a, you know, among doctors. These are ways that you could actually create new ponds, you know, rather than being in the same crowded pond. So I think that segments is something which is interesting and could be looked at, because that is one way to grow the market. Any feedback, response on this?
Suhasini, we are looking at we're working in the B schools, and the idea is actually a little bit long term to develop that particular market. When these young kids are going to go into the corporate, they will be actually carrying the experience of coaching, and one day that market is going to grow. So a bit long term, but that's
it's a very good strategy, because, you know, when you work with people when they are at when they're students, yes, they kind of get hooked onto that. So that's definitely one way to grow the market, yes, and create a future market. And I mean, think about it. There are probably other segments that we can look at as well. So education, I've mentioned, and that's an interesting example that you said with these schools. But here are some others like media. I don't know, you know, film, TV, media, online media, healthcare, education, sports media. So these are just some that I could think of. Government could be one as well, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So then there is also the geographies. Now it may so happen that you have access to certain geographies. You know, you may be, for example, having family in one of these places. I've just mentioned some places, and I kind of mentioned places more around Western India or Southern India. But I feel that the competition kind of tends to be crowded around the metros plus, you know, Pune and Pune, Hyderabad, and so on. So today there is actually good amount of corporate activity and even funds to spend, budgets, and a lot of aspirations in all the kind of towns which I've written here. Right? Yeah. Ahmedabad is important, Kolhapur is important, Nagpur is important. So maybe you don't have, you know, 100 potential customers, but maybe you have 7, 8, 9, 10, which is probably all you need. So it's interesting that what I'm trying to say is that each of you could create, like the gentleman who mentioned about B schools. So he's kind of created his network, and each of us can actually create something. So we are not then, you know, kind of feeling that this is a very crowded market, because actually it's not a very crowded market. We saw that from the first slide. There's still a lot of potential. Make sense?
Absolutely.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Provide demos. Yes, some of you mentioned that. Yes, give them a taste of the experience. Let a few key people taste it. Let a few people then, talk about it, tom about it. And just one example of how this is done, even on a website that's done here, that internationally, I've just grabbed this screen share from somewhere, right? So yes, providing demos is an important way to do it. And I have some suggestions about how that can be done as well. So one way to give that is possibly you could bundle it with other offerings. So if you have been working with any other kind of interventions, training, consulting, anything else, then do say, yeah, while I do this for you, it's important that these few people get these, 4 or 5 sessions of coaching, and kind of bundle that in with your offering. So this screenshot, it doesn't actually specifically mention coaching, but it's just about a business growth assessment consulting package. So if you are creating some package like that, you could always say that, there would be few sessions of coaching kind of thrown in.
Yeah. No, I think, and Suhasini, if I may add one experience of mine, I think this bundling has been very successful. At least if I may say, I'm very new to this whole market. I've been employed till 2 years back, and I've just stepped in as on my own. But I think what's worked is bundling. So where I'm saying, okay, this is the learning and development that I do, and that will follow with these X number of coaching sessions for each of your leaders, and that there's a huge buy-in for that. But if I'm only going for a coaching perspective, as we all spoke, that there's still not that amount of awareness, and hence they don't know what we're going to talk. So I think, yes, right, the bundling is right, something so that is.
One thing is that because you're bundling it, you're also, creating more effectiveness. Maybe your training or whatever becomes more effective because it's together with coaching.
Yeah.
And then, another thing is what you're actually doing is you are providing a solution, because coaching is a process, right? Nobody buys a process, people buy solutions. So we're talking about that. We are going to talk about that as well, about what are we exactly selling. We'll come to that. But I think when you bundle it, you're coming closer to creating a very tailored solution. So do consider that if you have, got your accreditation and you already had a lot of work, customers for another intervention, then do start kind of bundling coaching with that. Okay, I'll move on.
Yes, perfect. Thank you.
So then we come to, okay, so we talked about growing the market. And then of course, if we grow the market, we need to actually capture business, right, in that market. So let's take a look at marketing now, building our distinct identity. And there's enough of market and opportunity for all of you to create pretty distinct, different identities, because you can specialize in a segment, in a geography, and so on. Okay. So now, before we do that, it's really important to think deeply about what are we selling. And this is what I mentioned, that really coaching is a process. So what exactly are you selling? Are you really helping, like it's a CEO who's, doesn't have anybody to turn to for mentorship, or doesn't have a peer that they can go to? So is that the kind of thing that you're selling? Maybe that could be one aspect. It could be people who are like moving up in responsibility. So the whole new role and new aspirations. Then I saw internationally people have these packages that to prepare for even interviews or even, career shift. There's coaching sessions. There is, is it for intergenerational? So think about exactly what are you selling, because you are actually trying to sell a solution to that problem. As I said, coaching is a process. We really don't buy processes. Why would I buy a process, right? So what are we selling? We need to think about that, and we'll go a little deeply into that as well. So what problem do we solve? So can you all share with me some of the problems that you all solve with coaching?
Transitioning to a new role.
Okay.
I have helped somebody to collaborate better. So improve collaboration amongst the teams.
Mm-hmm.
So I help business owners to think in a focused way to create systems, processes, to scale and automate and to scale.
Okay.
Okay. It's also sometimes about, applying strategy to their roles.
Okay. So now these are problems that, 2 or 3 of you shared, and others will find different problems because those will change depending on the segment. They will also change depending on the level. But I think, yes, helping somebody to be able to grapple with the responsibility, increased responsibility which comes with a new role, that could be a problem that we solve, right? And we can't just limit ourselves to new roles, because we need to also help them to grow and achieve their goals in their whatever role they've taken up. So think deeply about the problems that you solve, and 2 or 3 of you who shared have slightly different flavors, and each one of you will have a different flavor, but do think deeply about that and start talking more about that. So if you are also talking to someone, tell them that, I've done a lot of work with people who are trying to get into a new role, right? So that is something which people understand. They don't understand what is coaching if they've not ever had a coaching session. So do think deeply about what problem you solve. And who is your customer? Now, one thing which happens is that, I said that, oh, you could have coaching in education, healthcare, and all that. But that doesn't mean that any one of you should say anybody can be my customer, because that is never works in marketing. So even though I said, yeah, why only corporate? It could be government, it could be education, it could be healthcare, it could be media, it could be sports. That is true, but you still need to think about what is your customer. Now, I'll tell you what happens with this anybody can be my customer approach. Your communication is never finally aligned to anybody, So I see this with a lot of startups. I work with a lot of startups, and typically I say they come up to me and say, this is our product or this is our service. And the first thing I say is, who will buy this? And young, enthusiastic startup founders often tell me, this can be used by anybody. Now, there's no product, maybe except for Parle-G biscuits, maybe, which is eaten, on the roadside as well as in palaces, probably. I haven't seen another product which is really anybody can use. So when we say anybody can use, our communication is very unfocused, and our activity is also very unfocused. We are not closely aligned to anybody because we think we are for everybody. So you need to think very closely about who is your customer. Like we said, it could be by a market segment, it could be by a geography, it could be by a role, it could be by an industry. Like, for example, I have such great understanding of like maybe the chemical industry that it's all the chemical industry CEOs who are with me, possibly. It could be. Or IT industry or BFSI or whatever. So you really need to think of who is your customer. And we are also going to look later on as to what qualifies a person for you to really spend your time trying to make them your customer. But we need to think deeply about who is your customer. So that who is your customer is by the type of company, by the level, the designation, a typical like age, level, because level changes the challenge. A mid-level manager has a different challenge than a senior level manager or somebody who's on the board of directors. So that as well. So do think about that. Now, what happens is all of us would like to work, with Fortune 100 CEOs, right? Because maybe we can charge them big money and we can say that, it's a matter of prestige. But think about it. Who is the person who has a need, could be latent or expressed, who has budget, and who is likely to gel well with you. Now, we often come to this after doing a few deals. For example, market access consulting, which I started around January 2016. The assumption I had about who my best customer is in January 2016 to what I believe today my best customer is, it's very different. And I worked with those that I thought were my best customers. And over the years, I said, no, not this category, no, not that category. And these are the ones who really work with me. So they need to be people who are likely to take a decision, who have the propensity to spend, who will appreciate what you do, and who, of course, you can do a good job delivering. Yeah. So do think about who is your customer and don't make it general, make it very specific. Any questions?
Yeah, so Hasini, so I am coaching in the space of career transition and leadership development. So here my one dilemma that I go through is you mentioned that who are the people you gel with and who are the people who will respect you and you can add value to them. So in my experience as a CHR, I've worked with all the three levels, which is junior, mid, and senior. Do I need to define it that it's only mid and senior level that I'll work with, or I
Okay, so there
can
are two
keep
things, yes, Agorika. There are
yeah.
two things. One is who takes the purchase decision, and the second is who gets the coaching, right? So there is a user of your service and there is a customer of your service. So first of all, we need to decide who's the user of the service, because your approach, your communication, it will be quite different. If you are really doing great with, young first level managers, or if you're doing really great with people who are on the board, your approach is going to be quite different. Your pitch is going to be quite different. So you do need to define that. And the second is to find the customer, the person who will take the purchase decision, those who will gel well with you. You see the distinction? You have to think about both, because it may so happen that you have the customers, the purchase decision people who like you so much that they say, yeah, anything in our company will come to you, because they are so convinced about you. But you still need to define who the users are.
Okay.
But you need to spend a bit of time. I mean, your offering has to be tailored for the user, but your sales process also has to think very much about who the decision makers. And it's usually, it could be a few different people playing a role. So who is playing what role?
Okay. Got it.
One more thing that we need to think about is what are the competing choices. Now, the competing choices, probably, 25 of you who are here, it may not be that you're competing with each other. It may be that you are competing with maybe the same person could be like sent for a short course to Harvard. Okay. Or I don't know, because if that person feels, or that person's board of director feels, or bosses feel that this person requires some mentoring, help, whatever, okay, needs somebody to talk to, they may not always say, I need an executive coach. For the same problem, people may not look at executive coaching as being the only solution, and all the competing choices are your competition. It's not that other coaches are your competition. Make sense? So when you think about your competitive differentiation, you need to think why it's better than all the competing choices and not other coaches. Is everyone with me? Okay, let me ask you, when you said that person has to be groomed for a new role, so what are the different things that people do? Okay, one of them is executive coaching. If not executive coaching, then what does the organization provide to that person? Do they provide a mentor? Do they provide like a training? Do they send them somewhere for an MDP? What do they do?
Them to INSEAD or ISB or something like that.
Exactly. So those are also your competition. So the competition is not among coaches. The competition is among competing choices.
Yeah, that's true, Suhasini. In my experience, some of my clients, they have gone to ISB, IIMs, or INSEADs, these institutes, and they get courses either sponsored by their organization, or they are ready to spend their own money on that.
Right.
And it becomes very clear for me then that as a coach, what is the value addition that I am doing that they cannot get at ISB, IIM, or INSEAD. So,
which is exactly what we need to communicate. But in order to
yeah.
communicate our competitive differentiation, we have to recognize who the competition is. So we know what the problem is, and we have to understand what are the competing choices. So the competing choices are not other coaches. The competing choices are whatever a person goes in for in order to solve that problem. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like I am a coach for business owners. So my competition is actually business consultants. because
Who are
it's
not
like
coaches.
they are, yeah, who are not coaches. Business consultants are my competition.
Yeah, exactly. And then you need to think about, like, you have to, when you explain to them why they need coaching, you have to tell them that this is what I can do that they can't do.
Yes, absolutely. And I think I've nailed that part at least.
Sure, if you have the clarity, you will nail it. The point
Yeah.
is to have the clarity. We need the clarity
Yes.
in thinking.
Yes, yes. Thank you.
And then, yes, okay, so now we know what the problem is. We know what the competing choices are. So now what is your unique offering, which is exactly what we've been discussing. The person could be sent to IIM, the person could be sent to ISB, the person could be sent to Harvard. Then what is your unique offering, right? Is that easy to come up with? Or have you already come up with it? Or is this still gray area?
I think this is evolving, if you ask me, Suhasini. This is...
It would evolve, yes, because as we discussed, the market itself is sort of nascent. It would evolve, but finally, this is where all the marketing will come in, when we have this clarity. And this clarity will not be the same for all of you, because I'm hoping that you will find those particular segments, those particular geographies where each of you can be, the biggest fish in that pond. So it will not be the same. This working out, this will not be the same. But finally, it's when you really have this clarity, then you have something to market or something to sell.
Yeah.
Yeah. Everyone with me? Yeah. Any question?
So Suhasini, just to add, Hemant here. So as far as unique offering is concerned, I think I'm pretty clear about that and I articulate that pretty well. The only question that comes to my mind, which I wonder about, is that have I scaled myself enough? And I feel that I haven't. So then how do you, so my question to you is then, I have a unique offering and I'm very clear about that. And I know what is the value that I'm adding. But then how do I scale that unique offering is my question.
But executive coaching, you mean the delivery of that offering, or the communication of that offering?
In terms of scaling, as in terms of growing, in terms of, so communication is there, but I don't know to what audience the communication reaches. I'm talking
Well,
about
I
that
see,
part.
the thing is, I don't know that much about delivery scaling, because I see people like, Tony Robbins, or what's the name of the person? Afreen something, right? Who's supposed to be working with Bollywood.
Arfin, yes.
Arfin
Then
Khan.
I see Arfin Khan. Then I see
Yeah.
this Jay Shetty. Jay Shetty's office in London is in touch with us for some content development. So is that one way of scaling, by like doing a lot of videos and having large, is that what you mean by scaling?
Okay,
Large
so,
format kind of interventions?
Yeah. So there are two sides, as you rightly mentioned. So there is a supply side, right? And there is a demand side of it, right? So I'm talking about the demand side scaling. So supply side scaling, I need to take care of through maybe creating a team or creating content, creating courses and all of that. That's the supply side of it, the delivery part of it. But right now I'm talking more about the demand side of that, that I have a unique offering,
Okay.
but then how do I
Sure.
communicate that to
I
a much
didn't,
larger audience
sure.
beyond
Yeah,
today?
we'll talk about that. I
All
didn't
right.
focus too much on that in my presentation today, because see, a coach has limited hours. It's a bit like a dentist practice or something. Your practice gets full quite quickly. So I've not focused much on it, but we will discuss it. We'll just come to that.
Sure. Thank you.
Okay. So now that we have clarity on what is our USP, the question is, how do we really stand out? How do we differentiate ourselves? So one way is to do some kind of exceptional achievement. In whatever way in your field, that's one way to get to stand out. Leadership in peer group, for example, your ICF chapters and the roles that you play there, that's one way to stand out. Online branding, which is what you're asking, Hemant. So online branding, today you can't rely purely on social media. The reason for that is very algorithmic, very scientific. all the social media platforms like Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, Instagram, all of them are limiting the visibility of our posts. Because 5 years ago, we could do a lot with just pure LinkedIn organic posts. Today, they kind of force you to spend on advertising, on promoting those posts. All of them have tweaked their algorithms to limit visibility. So don't expect that it will happen just by pure social media posts. Social media posts are important, but today you have to combine it with some digital advertising. Then writing or speaking with authority, for example, I'm speaking with all of you today, and that builds my brand, and you'll give me the video of this session. So that also builds my brand. So that's required. The awards and contests, yes, if there are any which are relevant, do take part, do pitch for that. And showcase value delivered. I think someone mentioned that. Did Anu mention that? Yes, that's the biggest thing. The proof of the pudding is in the eating. So showcase the value that you've delivered. Talk about it, tom about it. If you can get your coachee to talk about it. I know it's very difficult. These are highly confidential things, but if you can. So these are just some of the ways that each of us can stand out and build a personal brand as a coach. Yeah. Go on. Sell value. Yeah. So one of the ways to help people to develop confidence is to link your contract with value in some way, Okay. Savings and revenue is not the right ones over here. This slide may have been made for some other purpose. So I've written here savings and revenue may not be the right ones. It could be something very different, but that is one way to demonstrate your skin in the game. So if you keep some kind of a entry price and say, I really want to earn from coaching you, and if you achieve these goals, you pay me some good amount, and the person says, yeah, if I achieve those goals, I'm happy to pay you that good amount. So you can actually increase your revenue, but it also gives the person the feeling that you have skin in the game and generate confidence. So some of the sessions, maybe you won't get paid that much, but that's okay. This is one way to build confidence in a market where people are not that aware of the advantages. Social media, yes, social media is important, but social media alone is not going to do it for you, because it shouldn't happen that, I didn't want to start my presentation saying, everybody should be using social media. And then after 3 months, you all feel, hey, I've been doing this every week LinkedIn thing, and I've been doing that, and, it's really not got me anything. That happens because we are working. I'm sorry, my son is calling. Just a second. Hey, Samarth, I'm conducting a webinar, darling. So that happens because we haven't worked out that particular segment. We haven't worked out our USP. We're just kind of doing very general stuff, so it doesn't get us effect. So LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram are powerful. You need to be there. Obvious marketing or promotional messages generally are not very, very effective. You need to build your network of contacts which are based on common interest. Showcase your expertise, share knowledge, ask questions, initiate debates, publish articles, photos, videos, participate in relevant groups and communities. Yeah, these are some of the ways that social media will help you, provided, of course, you have your strategy, which we discussed. Anybody would like to share how social media is working for them or not working for them?
So I think, Suhasini, I can add one thing to what you said. I think more than the promotional events, and my experience in the last 2 years with LinkedIn especially has been that they have that algorithm which understands of which ones are promotional or which ones are just content. And if you're only talking about the awareness and you're contributing something which is a relevant content, you get high visibility. So I have observed that the best way to use these social media is where you kind of are getting into conversations and you're sharing on what you want to say about a particular topic, and not directly promoting or selling something or asking them to register for something. I think that's where it takes a toll on the visibility. That's my experience. I may be right or wrong, but
so over the years, LinkedIn has been my personal. Yeah, thanks a lot. I mean, Kalpesh, what you said is a very, very relevant point. It's very important to showcase your expertise by sharing knowledge, and it's the same thing which I've said on my slide. Personally, over the years, LinkedIn has been like my main source for getting contracts, business, even for things like filling up webinar sessions or training programs and so on. So it's been like my main channel. And it's also very important for us to find demand on LinkedIn, because we generally think that we should showcase, and we should showcase so people will we'll get leads, but we often don't search for what I'm trying to say is, see, if I need a coach, I'm not going to sit quietly about it, right? I'm going to do something about it, right? Are you all with me?
yes.
मैं तो चुपचाप नहीं बैठने वाली. मुझे कुछ चीज की जरूरत है, मुझे आज एक ट्रेनिंग की जरूरत है, या मुझे कुछ एक्सपर्टीज की जरूरत है, मैं चुपचाप नहीं बैठने वाली. So people are going to do something. So it's important for us to try and see what they're going to do and where are those online conversations. So one of the things that people do is, like, for example, they say, can anyone recommend? In the UK, people say, can anyone recommend on LinkedIn for everything from a window cleaner to a strategy consultant. Okay. In the US to an extent also, right? The challenge for coaches, and I have seen this demands that they generally want people who have been used by people they know. I'll explain to you what I mean by that. Now, my business, for example, if digital marketing, if somebody says, can anyone recommend digital marketing? And I jump into that conversation because I'm searching for these kind of demand. I jump into that conversation. So they say, okay, she's in India, maybe good, may not be good, she's going to be decently priced. Let's try it. They don't have that much of a mindset block about it. But when they say looking for an executive coach, they really want somebody who has been referred by someone they know. And when you jump into that conversation, they're like, oh, someone far away. I don't know. Is that kind of resonating with what you all experience?
Absolutely.
But you should still search. Now, the thing with search engine optimization, someone asked about scale, right? Hemant asked about scale. So search engine optimization. So what is search engine optimization? Like I said, if you have a need, you're not going to sit quietly about it. You're going to do something. So when a person searches, is your website showing up, right? That's one way to work on the demand, one way to capture the leads from the demand side, and not from the, not trying to create. Generally, what we do is we try to create pull. We showcase something, some content, and we try to create pull. But here, what I'm saying is that we identify the pull, from the source itself. So that's also important. And this is actually very easy on LinkedIn. It's easy to actually give a search for things like, can anyone recommend a coach? Okay, if you want, I can do a demo after this, after these slides.
So I think, Suhasini, what you're saying here is, yes, you're very right that when you're looking at, say, for example, coaches, it's a lot of word of mouth, a lot of referrals for people who've used your services before. I think those become very, very credible sources of referrals. I think maybe the other example that comes to my mind is a doctor, right? People would normally like to go to a doctor who's been used by the other and is, successful there. So I do agree. But then again, how do you then as coaches work towards, getting more word of mouth referrals? I guess it would be because you get recommendations, you post it on, so I guess those are all ways.
Well, there's also a challenge of confidentiality, right? You can't be expecting every coachee to be like, wanting to talk about, may or may not want to talk about it, right?
Yeah. But so, end of day, I know that word of mouth is a very, very, very potent way. But then, yes, there are challenges to that as well.
Right. Yeah, so social media can, we should use it to showcase our expertise, knowledge, and we should remember that today pure organic social media is becoming more and more challenging. We may need to spend something to gain that visibility, and there are also ways for us to find requirements on social media, which we often forget. But we need to think that, okay, if the person has a requirement, what are they doing? And it's possible to find those requirements as well. Okay, I'm going to come a little bit about to the sales part, yeah, because Vivek had told me that you all would like to discuss sales. So, many of you are going to be like single person companies, right? It's really important for each of us as senior consultants, coaches, to also be effective at selling ourselves, at being at selling our own services. So we need to. So maybe you have a background in HR or training or whatever, and you've come into coaching, and maybe you've not had uh, the role of selling before. Is that possible with many of you? Possible you never had to sell before. Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
But
Yes.
as a coach, as a coach today, as the CEO of your coaching business, you do have to sell. Selling is a part of that. I'm going to give you some simple ways. So one is, yes, it's important for us to overcome our inhibitions, because in India somehow we are not pushed towards sales. We have a little bit of shyness about it. Okay. So many of us haven't had that exposure. So it's important for us first to just start with developing a rapport with potential customers, because rapport building is the first thing. So whether we meet them at events, at conferences, seminars, webinars, shaking hands with them. So first is to overcome our inhibitions, develop a rapport, and seek socializing opportunities. So some people are shy, some people are actually introverted, they haven't sold before, but they can overcome it with being member, like all of you are members of this chapter. So these are ways in which we socialize and we overcome inhibition. So it's important to find those societies where maybe your potential customers are there and seek those socializing opportunities. It could be courses and so on. And then when you do get a chance to handshake with somebody, do remember to send them an email or a LinkedIn invite and keep them there in your database somewhere. Put their name into an Excel file or keep them as a LinkedIn contact, so that you are actually growing your network. So these are just very simple things. I'll tell you about someone I know in Pune who was, he had a business of his own and some personal challenge. I mean, he lost his wife, he had aged parents, he had a child and a special child, and all that. He was dealing with a lot, maybe 45, 50 years old, dealing with a lot. And somewhere he felt that to take a break from all this, he said, I'll learn dancing. Okay. And the thing is that just going out to a dance class and socializing with completely new people, it changes you. It changes your body language. It changes the way you walk into a room. It changes your energy. So it's a simple thing. Like if you're shy, then Toastmaster clubs. I know all of you are coaches and all of you are very articulate and you probably don't need these things, but these are important ways to overcome the inhibitions towards selling. So socializing opportunities, these are important. And if you can socialize with your potential buyers, that's even better. Okay, so very simple way to get started. Okay, we come to ideal customer profile. We discussed it a little bit, but it's very important when it comes to sales, because we should not waste our time pitching to people who are not likely to become our customers. Okay, so it's important for us to focus and spend our time with people who are likely to become our customers and who are likely to become good paying, profitable customers. So we need to define the demographic profile. So if you have decided that healthcare is your sector, then what kind of doctors, how senior the doctor should be, whatever. If you've decided it's corporate, then what kind of corporate, which segment, which location, what size, what level, all that. So that's your basic factual part, is your demographic profile. The second part of the profile, now when we go to an organization to pitch, sometimes what happens is, and this happens with people who haven't sold before, you go to a company, maybe you know somebody there, someone says, come sit, have a cup of coffee with me, tell me what you're up to now, or you're coaching. And then you kind of spend some time and then, you know, okay, send me a profile. So you've spent an hour that day. Then you've spent an hour putting together the profile. Then you've made a few follow-up calls. And, you know, it hasn't gone anywhere. And that's because we have engaged with somebody because they're easy to engage with, or we had access to them. So in sales, we say we need to see whether they have a band profile. So do they have a budget? Do they have the authority, the budget for what you are providing? You are providing executive coaching. So do they have a budget, the authority? Do they have the need? And do they have a time frame? Are they saying, I'm looking for solution to this in the next month, 2 months, 3 months? Right? Not somebody who says, yeah, come tell me about executive coaching. Chalo, it's lovely. You know, anytime you're in Hinjewadi, come over, let's have coffee. Because that kind of takes away our energy. So you can't ask your contact, hey, you know, you have a budget, authority, need and time, but you have to slowly, and not slowly, but tactfully and quickly kind of come to that. So spend more time with band profile. And also in the organizations where you're working, map who are the people who are taking the decisions about executive coaching. Is it CEO plus CHRO? Is it somebody else? So make sure that they are in the equation, because anybody else will be only wasting your time. And the last is the attitude perception profile. So again, in two companies which are say 500 crores or 1,000 crores, one may have, you know, spent like lots of money last year on many hours of executive coaching, and the other may have spent zero. Is that possible? Not only possible, it's very likely, right? So do remember that there is a certain attitude perception profile that you want. You know, you want people who, I don't know what that attitude is. Somebody who wants to invest in people, who wants the best kind of talent, who wants that talent to take their company to 10x. So you have to figure out that attitude or perception profile and focus on the right one. Everyone with me on what I said?
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense, Suhasini, that you may want to ask them that how much they have spent last year, how much do they generally spend on, you know, LNOD generally. So that will give you an idea about, are they willing to invest in people development? So those kind of questions, I guess you are pointing towards. Is that right?
One is, yeah. So what you're saying is about budget, which is factual, but then there is attitude perception also. You know, that some people, they say, you know, in our industry, the turnover is so fast, why should we spend on expensive LNOD? Right? So you have to think about the attitude perception also. So some others say, no, we really want to invest in our people, because the people we invested in 5 years ago, today they're taking our company somewhere. So you have to figure out, and what works for one of you is going to be different from what works for the other. So depending on your focus, you have to figure out that attitude perception profile, and then focus on those that are working for you. Focus on customers, potential customers who have budgets, who are going to be good customers, happy customers, and make you happy as well and profitable.
Right. So essentially you are looking at their mindset and philosophy about people development there.
Yes. Yeah. Yes. So you have to figure out what are those questions that you will ask to get that.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah. So for example, I said, why don't you coach doctors? Now maybe a doctor will say, I don't have a minute of time. You know, it's possible. I don't have time. I don't have time to even listen to your pitch.
Yeah.
Okay. But maybe you are able to get through to some doctors and they say, yeah, that 1 hour that I spend with you in the month is the best 1 hour of my life, of my month. Then you say, okay, what is this doctor's attitude and how do I find more doctors of that type?
Yeah. It's like finding your ideal clients.
Absolutely. That's what the slide is called, ideal customer profile. Yeah. Okay. Move on. So then we come to advertising. Yeah, somebody was talking about scale. Advertising is also about scale. So today we need to opt for smart and not expensive. And there are many smart options. First page of Times of India. Who does today? Only funded startups, right? Who want to burn up VC money as fast as possible. It's not very smart, because it's something that we call waste circulation, because 80-90% of the people who receive that ad are not your potential customers. So that's not required, not smart. So we will go in with targeted communication, not mass. Figure out where your audience hangs out. So it could be in the real world or the virtual world. You need to spend some money, measure the results, and fine tune. And you have to also leverage low cost or free, like SEO and social media, both of which are neither low cost or free. It's just that they don't have advertising spend, but you do have to spend in terms of effort and so on. So in order to be able to advertise what's written on the left hand side, you need to really understand your target customer and their habits, right? So some people, they have a business where they say, okay, in the play group, the parents who are coming to pick up their children, that is my target profile. I just need to be there. That's all. I just need to be there, maybe give a few flyers, shake hands with a few people, and I can start selling, right? So it's very simple. People are actually physically coming to that location. So that's what I'm just giving an example of. We need to think smart. Where are people hanging out, physically or virtually? Hopefully by March, April, we'll be back to some physical hanging out. But at the moment, virtually. Yeah. Any questions?
Yeah, so one question, Suhasini, is that do you also include email marketing in here somewhere, and how do you think in your experience it's working?
So email marketing, it is one of the most effective things in the whole digital marketing arsenal. When we, as an agency, we propose it to our clients or CEOs, they often say, I don't want email marketing because I get tons of email and I delete all of them. But actually the fact is that emails do get opened, do get read, and they also do get leads. And if you have the right database, okay, if you have the right database, now that's the tricky part. Getting the right database. But if you can't just purchase a database, but if you are able to build the right database, then email marketing is effective and you should do it. Also, email is the subject line of the email is a very good test marketing.
Yeah.
Okay. So when we said what problem do we solve? So if you create one email which talks more about, say something like, the amazing thing which is not offered by MDPs, some sensational headline like that. Whereas another one talks about, senior management is usually lonely, where do you find coaches and mentors for them? I mean, you try 2 or 3 different approaches, and from the open rates, you can easily make out which one is hitting home.
Sure.
Any other questions? Okay, one more important thing is sales pipeline. And some of you may also along the way decide to hire salespeople. And even if you hire salespeople, this is also very important to know. It's very important to keep looking at your sales funnel. So, all of you are familiar with the concept of a sales funnel?
Yes, aware of that.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, aware of that.
Yes.
Yeah, you broaden it and then narrow it down.
Right. So the point is that, when you are handling sales, whether it's yourself or whether it's with maybe you decide somewhere along the way to hire someone, remember to track the process. Don't track the person. What I mean by track the person is, companies, they burn their fingers like this. They hire a salesperson, then the salesperson will very few salespeople work out. I think maybe 2 on 10 or something actually work out. And some of the very smart ones in the interviews don't work out. So what happens is that the salesperson, you just keep your hope on this person. Your sales is actually person driven. So you're looking at this person. This person is hired, smart, shows up every day at office with polished shoes or whatever, right? Smart. So you're waiting 2 months, 3 months. And then that person is giving you some feedback. Oh, this is happening, that is happening. Everyone is going to take decisions after Diwali. Ye ho raha hai, wo ho raha hai. Then you're waiting till Diwali. Then you're still looking at the person, right? This person is going to bring me sales. So your whole sales approach is person based. And it's 8 to 9 months before you realize that person hasn't worked out. And in India, we are quite gentle. We don't fire them in the first 2-3 months. We wait 9 months to 12 months. So what has happened is you've lost that. This is very typical. It happens not only in small companies, but even in the largest of companies who can afford the best of people. Very common. So that's why it's very important to track the process. That ask, okay, how many new contacts did you generate? How many of those actually turn to proposals? So you're tracking the funnel, tracking the pipeline. Okay, so you can tell earlier, oh, that person just hasn't met enough new people. Okay, or the new people they've met haven't turned to proposals because they were not relevant. So, and then also if that person changes, or if you decide to jump in and do the role, or if you have been doing the role and you want somebody else to do the role, it's all this is possible because you're tracking the sales process, you're tracking the funnel, you're tracking the pipeline, and you're not making sales completely person dependent. So do understand what are your sales funnel ratios. Ratios in the sense, for all the new leads that you generate, how many turn into conversations, how many turn into proposals, how many proposals close. Very often we see that every 3 proposals turns into a contract, or 4 proposals turns into a contract. So you need to see what is your kind of funnel ratios. Then make sure that there is lots of new conversations happening, at the funnel. And then understand the purchase cycle and be prepared for every stage. Okay, when this happens, if I've given a proposal, now the person is going to ask me for testimonials. Am I ready with the testimonials? So be ready with those things. And also try to get insights on the lost deals. So if possible, call up a few people and ask them, hey, you decided not to go with us. Can you tell me who you went with and how it was, or whatever, whatever it is, try and get some insights. And then those insights go into your sales cycle. So try and build that kind of a sales process, even if you are a one-person company. Yeah. Any questions?
No, I think this is good, Suhasini. And just to add to what you just said, a lot of times I've seen that, individuals, and I'm dealing with companies as well, where they actually don't even define their sales funnel cycle. Like, what are the 4 stages or 6 stages or 10 stages that I want to keep tracking on, and when do I keep moving that? And I think this is very important, because this is what is going to keep predicting your future. And as we say, the analytics, the sales analytics will come from here on how are you progressing and what is your sustainability.
So what happens in the absence of that, I'll tell you. And again, I see that with smaller company founders, and they say that suppose a small company, they say, oh, we put in a proposal for, say, 20 lakh rupees. I'm just giving an example. Suppose 20 lakh is a big amount for that company. We've put in a proposal for 20 lakh rupees, and they are really thinking that 20 lakh is just what they need to kind of, take their business to the next level. Now that's one proposal, and they will wait. They'll keep tracking it and hoping for it, and they will wait for 3 months. And at the end of 3 months, if it doesn't happen, they've kind of lost a lot of momentum, right? But the thing is to just say, okay, yeah, I put in a proposal for 20 lakh, but the only way 20 lakh will happen is if I've put in 4 proposals for 20 lakh. Then one will happen. So hope is not a strategy, right?
Yeah.
That's a line somebody used. Hope is not a strategy. Yeah, we good? I'll go on.
Yeah, fair.
Oh, that's it. Yeah. Happy to take questions. How much time do we have? Plenty of time.
So we have about 10 more minutes, 10, 12 minutes for questions.
Okay, all right.
Suhasini, it will be very useful if you can actually demo us that identify the pull thing, if you can.
That's, that's giving away my secret sauce completely. It's so simple. But I'll tell you, I have got some very good contracts by doing that. And also a few other people whom I have passed on leads to. Some of them have had like international clients who are going on with them for like 2 years. So yeah, it's my secret sauce. I will give it away right now.
Okay, thank you so much.
Okay, I'll have to change because I'm right now sharing only this presentation. I'll just stop sharing this.
Okay.
And
great, guys. While Suhasini shares the secret with us, if any one of you have your questions, keep them ready, or send it across on chat, so we can make the maximum and get our sales going.
okay, LinkedIn. Share LinkedIn.
Great, Ranu. Thanks for your comment. Suhasini, this is for you that Ranu has mentioned. I love band profile. This clarity is such an energy saver.
Thank you very much. Yeah, this very good feedback. Thank you. So, okay, here I'm in LinkedIn, and this is search, simple search. We all use it. We mostly use it for searching for people. Most of the time we think that it can only help us to search for people or companies, but actually it can help us to search for content. So a simple one, can anyone recommend? Then I do minus job. Why do I do minus job? I do not want to see posts where someone has asked for a recommendation to employ somebody, because if I do that, if I don't do minus job, I'll get lots of junk. So I said, can anyone recommend a minus job? And here I click on content. Okay. Okay, so this is just generally, you can see, this is also just helpful to see what are people generally searching for. So today it seems to be all digital marketing, but it's not always only digital marketing. What time you give this search is very important. See, if you give this search at about 7, 8 a.m., you'll get US results, because overnight they would have put, right? If you give this search at about 6 p.m., you'll get only India results. If you give this search at about 9 p.m., you'll get UK results. Now I'll just change this to coach. So here is somebody in Ohio looking for career development coaching. If any of you are interested, you all can reach out to her. When you reach out, when you reply to these, it's very important to send a inbox, in mail. So to send an email, generally you need to have a LinkedIn premium account.
Yeah.
Do not put a comment here. If you put a comment here, what happens is that your entire network sees that. I'll give you an example that suppose it's a software development requirement, and I have worked in the software industry. I'm a member of NASSCOM, and I have tons of friends, and I have 12,000 contacts on LinkedIn, out of which maybe 80% are software related. Now, suppose I am, for example, representing a client, and I see a requirement, and I put a comment here saying, hey, whatever, this company can do it for you. Because I put that comment, my entire network sees that post. So then suddenly there'll be like 50 comments there. Are you all with me?
Can you repeat this again?
Absolutely.
Missed out, yeah.
So this is, you see a requirement that you are interested in.
Correct.
Now, how do you really reach out to that person? So the way to reach out, the best way to reach out is to send the person an email. So if I click on this profile,
yeah,
okay, and then I go here and I say message. Okay.
Yeah.
Now, the only way I can do that is if I have a premium subscription. Here I have a premium subscription. I have 45 email credits, and this is one that I'm using. Okay, you generally cannot send an email with a free LinkedIn account unless that person has a premium, but that you don't know if that person has or not. If you don't do this, and what you do instead is you put a comment on the person's post. So if you come here, you can again see the same post. And now here, if I put a comment here, now what happens is, because I've put the comment, my entire LinkedIn network sees this post on their timeline. And suddenly you will have 50 comments there from people in India.
Yeah, yeah.
Got it.
Okay, so we just saw one right now, but there will be others. Again, like I said, the time that you give this is very important. Make sense?
Yeah.
Could you repeat the time piece? I couldn't really
understand. So consider the end of the working day. So if you give this, requirement, can anyone recommend a coach? If you give it in the morning at 7, 8 a.m., see what happens is the requirements are there, but in your timeline, there is so much of other stuff that for you to find it is a problem. So if you give this search at 7 or 8 a.m., you will generally see the US requirements, which have come overnight. If you give this search at about 6 p.m., you'll see India requirements, which have come over the day, right? If you give this search at about 9 p.m., you'll see some UK requirements.
Sure, got
right?
it.
Yeah,
got
yeah.
it.
So I don't ever give this.
This is gold information, Suhasini.
I told you my secret sauce.
This is absolute gold.
Thank you so much.
And
Really
it's so
appreciate.
simple.
It is so simple, you wouldn't know. You would probably have to take a LinkedIn, understanding how LinkedIn algorithm works kind of a course for this.
And no one
Yeah,
teaches
this
this.
is
Yeah.
brilliant.
So, yeah. So this is very simple. Yeah. So
Thank you for sharing your secret sauce with us, Suhasini.
Yeah, this is. I never tell this to people who are in my industry.
Yeah.
You have been very generous, Suhasini. Thanks a lot.
You're welcome. Okay. Okay, so I'll stop sharing. Any other questions?
I will also just check the chat. Team, any questions? Feel free. We can use the maximum time from Suhasini. Suhasini, Hemant is asking if you have any book recommendations.
Okay, so I have, so if you all are interested in content, I have actually created a Udemy course on content strategy. Okay, which is about 2.5 hours of video, but it'll take you longer to go through it because you'll have to kind of do the exercises and also there's a B2B content strategy course, which is mine on Udemy. As far as marketing is concerned, my focus is generally more on content. I'm really more of a content specialist. My Bible for content is a book called They Ask You Answer.
Okay.
And They Ask You Answer, you can read about case studies where one blog post has led to millions of dollars of sales. So
wow.
They ask you?
They ask you answer. They ask you answer. Marcus Sheridan.
Okay.
They ask you answer. Oh, this is privately to Anu, sorry. 1 second. Where is my chat? Oh, sorry. Somehow, for some reason, I can only reply privately to Anu. Okay. Okay. Sorry. Okay, I need to change this to everyone. Yeah. They Ask You Answer by Marcus Sheridan. That's a book which is well worth your time.
Sure. Thank you for that.
And my Udemy course is on content strategy, on all these things, defining your buyer persona and what kind of content you should create, why you should create content, how content helps with SEO, with email marketing, with social media. So
okay.
That's
and how can we find your course? By your name on Udemy?
Yeah, you can find it by my name on Udemy.
All right. Thank you so much for sharing.
Yeah. Can you quickly put charges slide? I missed reading the bottom line. Charges. Charges. Sales pipeline, you mean? Charges kaun sa tha? Sorry, who asked that question?
Yeah, this is Ranu here. It was immediately after differentiating ourselves.
Sell value, yeah. Okay. I need to share the screen, right? Can you see my screen? This one?
Yeah.
Sell value. Any other questions?
Thanks for this. Thank you.
Great. So team, anyone has any questions, about marketing, about, Suhasini, while people come out with a question, there's one question which I want to ask you. Now,
yeah,
this is the whole journey of coaching, or the whole journey of starting on your own. And as you said, most of people here start their own journey. I think it's a game of patience, and it's a game with regards to how are you able to convert your network into sales, and then, and actually start getting your meter down. So how do you build between like a short term, long term, and work on creating sustainability for yourself and not give up the game? Because when you said in the first slide that early starters and all of us who've got into the coaching industry right now have a great future, because the demand for coaching will keep going on high, but it will take something for people to sustain till that time. Because if you don't develop your muscles, you're actually going to get killed on the way and
Right.
lose
So
your
the
patience.
thing with being an early person, we call evangelist or whatever. Well, there is always a danger that you could invest a lot of time and energy and someone else will benefit because you have done all the groundwork. Okay.
Right.
That can happen in this market. It has happened to a few brands. That's why actually we should all support each other, because when we collaborate, you should understand that we are all helping the market to grow. you know and what's going to happen is, when the market grows, everyone is going to benefit. So we have to actually, first of all, in this, maybe in this ICF Pune chapter or whatever, let's not even consider each other to be competition, but let's say, if Kalpesh is going somewhere and doing a seminar, or Anu is going somewhere and doing something, she's actually evangelizing coaching, and that's something which is going to help me. That's one thing. The people who are early in such markets are the ones who invest time, money, energy, who hopefully are the ones who benefit. But sometimes it does happen that somebody else benefits. It does happen. These are marketing case studies. So yes, you do require something where you can start selling now. And I think that's what we discussed. If you are clear about who benefits, what is your solution, who is your competition, what is your competitive differentiation, and if you start articulating that, see, when you have that confidence, I am better than a Harvard MDP, and if you can walk into somebody's room and shake that person's hand and explain why that is true, then it will make things happen. It's okay even if you didn't do an email which was opened by 100 people. It's okay. But if you have the clarity of thinking, you will still be able to close deals. And if you're able to close those 4-5 deals, then yes, you can do the email and get more leads. So I think what we discussed today, yes, we want some wins, because how will your business sustain if you don't have those wins? So
Okay, great. I think that helps.
Industry. The first is understanding who you are and what you offer, and then who do you offer it to. Anuradha. Yeah, Anuradha, yes, it is tough. So work with those who are going to be profitable customers. So it could be someone where you have an existing network of contacts. It could be someone where you already have good references or word of mouth. It could be somewhere where you have a background in that industry. Um, and who do you offer it to? Who do you offer it to? You offer it to those where the decision maker, you have access to them, they have money to spend. And the actual user is somebody whom you can help, whom you have done a good job with. So ultimately, I'm saying find customers who are going to be profitable.
And I think, Suhasini, if I may add just one thing, is, with whatever you do, you have to sell.
Yeah. That's why I discussed about overcoming inhibitions for sale. What I gave you was extremely simple things, something like join a dance class. I don't think anybody will tell you in a sales presentation to do that, because it's so simple. But I'm saying that because you all are professionals who haven't come from a sales background, even something like that could be, just overcome the inhibition. And not everybody is an extrovert. The thing is, extroverts think everybody is an extrovert. Maybe I'm an extrovert, so I feel, I love going to conferences, shaking hands with 50 people, exchanging visit cards. But for some people, that's a daunting prospect. Not everyone is made like that. So,
right.
So
Suhasini, one question is that from segmentation standpoint, so when it comes to marketing approach, do you see any specific differences when it comes to B2B marketing versus B2C marketing?
Yeah, there is a difference, of course. of course, because in a B2B, you know, there's the decision is the decision making is different. Yeah, so there's a lot of differences. So if you're selling something for the household, for example, the homemaker plays a role, the gentleman plays a role, the child plays a role. You have to understand
Right.
those dynamics.
Yeah.
And if you're selling it to a company, you have to understand what is the role of the CEO, what is the role of the board, what is the role of whoever else. So it's quite different. Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
In fact, some of you could think of B2C coaching also. If you can directly reach out to individuals in some way, no harm in thinking about that. Although today we have considered very much from the B2B.
Yeah, I thought so. Yeah, that's why I asked. Thank you.
Okay.
Great. So Suhasini, thank you so much. I think a lot of practical and a lot of doable stuff, which is so minor, but sometimes just that you can't think about it. So you've kind of operated from one dimension and only keep moving in that direction. So thank you for maybe I'll say opening up perspectives, opening up those blinders for us, and look at the entire marketing piece or entire positioning piece for ourselves a little differently. And I think with that, I want to really thank you and give you an e-bouquet from our side,
Wow.
from ICF Pune.
Well, let me look for an e-vase. Thank you.
So thank you for spending your time with us. And before I close for the evening, I would request Jayashree to come and wish all of us, as this is the last session of this year. So Jayashree, over to you.
Thank you. Thanks, Kalpesh. If you could just stop sharing the screen. Suhasini, we are going to also send you our New Year wishes. So I'm going to ask you for your residential address. Okay, so thanks, Suhasini. And, all of you, Suhasini and I think we know each other for so many years. And now that we are meeting virtually, but if you spot her in any physical, gathering or the person who's best dressed with the most chic attire, you can just be sure that it is Suhasini. So
okay, I wasn't aware of that. Thank you very much. Thanks for the opportunity, Jayashree. And my very good friend Vivek, who's not here today. Yeah, both of them invited me. So thank you for that.
Thank you. And a couple of things that I just wanted to add to the practical, very, very practical tips that Suhasini has given. And Suhasini, you also touched upon that thing. We coaches are often solo flyers. So there are very few of us who really have like a company where there are multiple coaches operating together. But otherwise, we are all solo flyers. And an organization like ICF is the one which actually provides the much needed support for any solopreneurs. So I just want to remind all of you about the two things. One is the partnership that ICF Global has struck with HR Katha, wherein ICF has paid for the marketing expenses, and it is up to us to write worthy articles which will be read by thousands of HR professionals on that platform. So it is only for us to just devote that time, just sit down and write something. You could go on HR Katha platform and see the first 4 articles that are already published. So that is one way to also establish ourselves as thought leaders. That's the opportunity that Global has provided. Second, also with respect to ICF Pune, I would very strongly recommend all of you to subscribe to our YouTube channel because one way or the other, I think we've been touching upon the business development for coaches through the last few months. So we had Christina's session, which spoke about energy. We actually have Yogesh Patgaokar's session also on our channel, where he spoke about developing business just by being coach-like. Right. And now we have Suhasini's session. Now we had Suhasini's session, which was again, about very practical things to do on the ground. Also, what you could look for is the Southeast Asia survey on, different OD modalities that was conducted a few months ago. The survey will be now very shortly available for, public consumption. And in February, we are going to have massive launch of that survey as well as experience coaching sessions. So please make sure you attend those and use all that data of that research, that survey. Somebody else, that is ICF Singapore, has spent like more than 500 hours on just collecting data and creating that report. So somebody has done it in ICF community for us. We just use that to begin our conversations with our clients. Or just day before, we had our webinar with NHRDN where we spoke about demystifying coaching. And tomorrow we will upload that recording on our YouTube. Just give a reference of that recording, write something on LinkedIn, make it your own post, generate interest in coaching as a modality, and make that as a conversation starter with your prospects. I think that is how we can help each other and build on each other and grow together as a community. I think that's
I think that everything that Jayashree said is actually part of the growing the market overall.
Absolutely.
And yes, the ones who ride on that, who kind of hold on to that, and the early players are the ones who will benefit. And because she mentioned writing articles, so I actually put the link to my Udemy course here. Yes. Because if you're actually going to write articles, it is a good, useful course for you. It's 2.5 hours of video, but it tells you about the buyer persona. What are you writing for? What should you write? Why should you write it? And also how do you decide what the themes should be? So all those concepts I explain in that.
Yeah, thank you, and
thanks so much.
Happy New Year. I think people have joined in from Mumbai as well as Bangalore, as far as I know, for this session. So thank you, friends, for spending your evening with us, Saturday evening with us. And here, thank you.
I want to when can we close it?
Merry Christmas.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
To one and all of you. Stay tuned and look forward to meeting all of you back in January 2021. One more announcement or maybe a reminder is the ICF Pune and NHRDN initiative, the webinar which happened 2 days back. The coachathon for that is planned on the 9th of November. So all the ICF Pune members, you'll hear soon from us for people who want to be volunteers and be there for that session. So look forward to connecting, and all the guests who are here today, look forward to connecting with all of you. Stay tuned and wish you a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year.
Bye. Have a happy
Thank you,
Christmas.
Suhasini.
Bye.
Thank you, team.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you, Suhasini.
Thank you.